Hey guys, Kevin here with MixCoach. I'm excited about what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk to my friend Randy Miller, who I have practically grown up with, and he's got some tips that will definitely help you to keep your studio busy, finding new ways of getting work. And but first, let me tell you about something I've got for you too. It is a mini workshop where I teach you all of my mixing trips and mixing tips, my mixing trips. And if you want to check it out, go to mixcoach.com/workshop. It's free. And I really think that you'll get a lot of value out of it. I show you some of my mixing hacks. We all want to learn mixing hacks, things that help you to get to a better mix a little faster than you normally would. This thing is packed full of them. So go to mixcoach.com/workshop. And it's right there. Okay, so let's talk to Randy Miller. I met Randy back in 1991 when I first got my first job in a recording studio in Asheville, and Randy was playing harmonica with a group called the Kingsmen at the time. Randy and I hit it off at that moment when we first saw each other at the first concert, and we've been lifelong friends ever since. As a matter of fact, Randy's one of those guys that just calls to check in, and I can't tell you, Randy, how much I appreciate that. So let's add Randy. Hey, Randy, welcome to the.
How's it going, Kebo?
Good. Hey, your volume might be a little low, so speak
Okay,
up as much as.
I'll try to speak up. I'll go ahead and apologize to you. Sherry and I, we're out on the road right now, so I'm actually in the coach. You can probably kind of see I'm in the back here, so I'm doing this remote. So we actually pulled over just so we could do this interview. And incidentally enough, we pulled over into your birth town over in Alabama. So I'll tell everybody you said hello over here at Earl's Chicken Palace.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been there.
No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. So just to collaborate or just to go down memory lane just a little bit, you remember when we first met each other, it was at a concert, and I play harmonica a little bit, and I think I stopped playing harmonica when I heard you play harmonica because you just wore a harmonica out. I mean, it played like, as a matter of fact, on the workshop that I just told people about, mixcoach.com/workshop, I worked with Terry McMillan one time in the studio, and there's a little tip in there on how to mix things in a certain order. And we've both admired Terry McMillan for a long time. He's such an incredible player.
Yeah.
I know he influenced you because I can hear it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anything that I could pick up that I found out that McMillan was actually playing on it, I would either go out and buy it, or I would set my. Now this was back in the days of cassette tapes when you could actually record what was on the radio on cassette tape. So I'd have my cassette recorder set on record play, and then I had the pause button set. So if I knew a song came on that McMillan was on there, I would hit the pause button so that tape would start recording, and then I could go back later on and try to learn what he was doing.
Yeah, I was the same way back when there were credits on records, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When there were credits on records, you go back and you just saturate yourself with whoever that really turned your gears as far as from a musical standpoint. You know, we all have our own personalities, what we adhere to and what we gravitate to. Some people like the styles of a jazz player. Some people might like a blues player. Some people might like a country player or an R&B player. And we kind of gravitate to that. And as musicians, we may gravitate to the jazz part, and then we get a feel of that, and we'll go to something else. And, we'll make those little trips around the genre circle.
That's one of the tips that we're going to talk about. But you and I have talked about this a little bit more. So let's get straight to the tips. One of the things that's always impressed me about you, Randy, and I've told you this before, but I want everybody else to know this too, is how resourceful you are. I mean, you have never been like not busy a day that I've known you. You're always into something. But we talked about just briefly earlier today about 3 tips. There's 3 things that I've heard you mention that I want to just mention to you and then let you expand on them a little bit. Okay. So here's 3 tips on things that you can do to keep yourself busier in your studio, a way that you can actually get more people in and even help to get your record done a little faster. One of the things that the last time I was there, which was back in July, I think, you said that you had been doing Fiverr, and it's something that I have checked out before, but I've never thought about using what I know how to do on Fiverr. So tell me a little bit how you started using Fiverr, and maybe even have you gotten any long-term clients out of it? And do you actually work for $5?
Well, that's kind of it's almost a gimmick kind of deal. It's like, so just say like I'm doing a harmonica overdub, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's $5 for every 20 seconds of audio.
Yeah.
So by the time the smoke clears, you're at the end of the song, and you've made a $60 overdub. Yeah,
you've made what you normally make, right?
Well, say again.
I said you typically will make what you normally make doing an overdub, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a marketing kind of ploy. You can see that. You can say, okay, I'm going to do this for $5. That's kind of like clickbait, and then they start reading the fine print, But by the time they've clicked on that and they're listening to your audio and your videos or watching your videos, what you can really do, it increases your chances of getting the client.
So have you gotten long-term clients out of it?
Long term, no, but I mean, there's a steady stream of people that will come in. Most of my clients have been like songwriters, and people that have known me through my musical journey, and it's word of mouth. But I do get quite a bit from Fiverr, and that is when you think about that, it takes you from a small pool of people that may know you, and expands you to the world. I just did some stuff for a guy out in Rome, in Italy, not Rome, Georgia, but Rome, Italy. And then the next day I did something for someone in Sydney, Australia. So it wasn't just somebody from, Cookeville, Tennessee, or Alabama or somebody like that. It brings the whole world to you, in a world full of clients and potential clients. And a lot of times it will stretch what you can do. It's like, okay, I've got this particular genre that maybe I've touched on a little bit, but because this person's from this part of the world, I may have to tap in a little bit deeper and be able to challenge myself to create whatever it is that they're looking for, even though they're looking for maybe my tone of harmonica, but maybe they want a different inflection that I'm not used to doing. So those kind of clients will actually stretch you a little bit, and that's fun. I mean, I love a challenge.
So as far as mixers go, have you done any mixing on Fiverr?
I mixed some chocolate chip cookies one time that had fiber in it. It was really good for digestive tract. No, actually, Fiverr has so many different things that you can do as a freelance person. You can go in and you can mix, or you can be a mastering engineer. You can be an overdub guy. You can be a vocal guy, doing vocal demonstration stuff. What my stuff has been like full soundtracks. I've done a lot of that. Vocal demonstrations, like doing vocal passes, and then songwriting. And I'm not necessarily a songwriter, but I mean, roses are red, violets are blue. I could probably come up with a rhyme with something like that. And, but some people want a perspective. So I can offer that, even though I'm not great at it. It will push me, but it gives me an opportunity to say, you know what, we wrote this song together. I do demos for people, or I can, I do this. Now, but to answer that, but within the soundtracks that I'm doing, yes, I am mixing in that. I'm using my normal, like my 1176s, like my LA2As. Now my verbs are all in the box, but my compressors I use analog compressors, because when you hit them, you can feel a little bit of that harmonic distortion that you don't normally get, like with some plugins.
That leads me, hang on, guys, I'm going to be, if you have any questions for Randy, pop them in the comment section. So so what I'm hearing you say about Fiverr is that it's a good way to get on somebody's radar, whether they're in Italy or Rome, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it also gives you a way to get into their creation process and gives you more validity there. So that's a good tip about trying Fiverr, trying new ways of getting micro leads, I guess. The second thing that we talked about is always be curious. That's the thing I've noticed about you. One of the things I noticed, and you'll have to expand this list, but when I first met you, you played harmonica and electric guitar.
Yeah.
And then you started building guitars. And then after that, after you and I recorded a record together, you bought my old studio, actually. You bought my old computer and hard drive and my digital performer system, didn't you? I just remembered that.
Yeah, the old blue or green G3, Macintosh G3 with your Pro 2408. I can't remember. Yeah, 2408s. Yeah, and then a couple of ADAT machines, maybe. I think I got.
Yeah.
But I bought your old studio, and that was probably what, maybe 2000, 2001.
Oh, Lord. Too long ago to recount.
It was way back when. It was back before the war.
It was pre-COVID. So you helped me build my studio there in Murfreesboro. And now you're building microphones and you're building mic pre's and compressors. So the thing about always being curious is I've noticed has led you to knowing a little bit about a lot of things that have to do with music industry and recording and stuff, which has probably awarded you a lot of opportunity to be able to get into anybody's workflow of creating music, right?
Yeah, it's definitely offered opportunity, and I think with curiosity or ADD, however you want to package that, with me, most of it is around music, but it's something else to do that has something to do with music. Like, when I started building my own guitars, I enjoy working with my hands. I enjoy the process. I mean, I enjoyed playing the guitars, but it was for me, like in just the guitar aspect, it was the getting out there and shaping the wood, or going to the lumber yard and picking out my wood. And it was just a process. Go and get a cup of coffee early in the morning, going out to the lumber yard, and you could smell like the western cedar or the walnut just kind of perfume the air. And it was that process. And then you would take that home and you would create something that could create music later on. And then then I went on another journey. That's with you, where you came in, as far as like studio stuff. I'm watching you. I was amazed by your workflow, and I was amazed by your process. That intrigued me. So I'm like, maybe I could do some of this recording thing and just get into the process of it. Okay, and then I bought your studio. And then we did the second album that I recorded with you. The first album you and I did in Asheville, North Carolina, and then we took it over into Nashville. That's right when you were moving from Asheville to Nashville. We finished it up in Asheville, but then you and I we went back in and did another album in Nashville. And I told you, I'm like, Kevin, there's a certain sound that I'm looking for, and I'm hearing it in certain albums, but we need to find out what this is. So I started going. You and I went on this journey, and what it turned out to be was a particular type of harmonic distortion, which came from Trident consoles. And so there was another thing. It was a process. How do I get this distortion thing to make the album sound three-dimensional? Where does that come from? Because we weren't getting it going to some other studio. So you went on a hunt and you found a studio up in Franklin called Dark Horse Studios. It was great studio, and they had a Trident room that had been modded, and then they were using some other mic pre's that had some transformer balance stuff going on there. And when you start getting into big iron transformers and you're starting to introduce some distortion, you start to create a distance I guess a field of
Mm-hmm.
sound, and it interprets to that low end distortion that you a lot of times you're feeling like, I'm not sure what that is, but it feels
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And so you and I went on that little hunt there, and
Mm-hmm.
then ADD kicked in again. So I can't. What did I? I mean, I went into tying flies and fly fishing, and then I did that for a little while. Still in the studio part of it, still doing studio work and still traveling. I never stopped traveling. Sherry and I, we traveled, well, pre-COVID, about 160, 170 dates a year.
Yeah.
Things are starting to start back up again now. But ADD, it kind of it takes me in circles. I've always been like a DIYer. I've always, and I'm cheap. I'm very cheap because I can't go and spend $20,000 for a microphone, but I can find schematics on a $20,000 microphone,
Mm-hmm.
and but that dates back to, I used to build ham radios with my grandfather when I was 12 years
Oh,
old.
I didn't know
I
that.
learned I learned how to solder. I learned how to read a multimeter, and so with that, and I got popped a few times by some charged up transformers as well.
That
Learn how
explains a lot,
you
Randy.
learn that's so
Mm.
that's where I got this tick from, and but so I took that from 12 years old and integrated that with the musical journey, and started like building. I think the first
Yeah.
thing that I built was a U-47
Mm-hmm.
FET, a U-47 FET, and
Mm-hmm.
then I went from there to a C-12, built a couple of those. Then I went from there to I built a couple of U-87s, and
Mm-hmm.
so then I wanted to get a little deeper into it. So I started. I modded a couple of mic pre's,
Mm-hmm.
which were the I'm trying to think, Golden Age 73.
I think I've got that one, right?
Yeah, you have one of about four that I did.
Mm-hmm.
I pull out some of the caps and put tantalum capacitors in there and change out the transformers. Move it to a Carnhill input and a solder output. And I tried some different configurations, but I think
Mm-hmm.
I ended up with the Carnhill in solder output.
Yeah.
Um, but all within that, there was a process. So even like with modding mic pre's, there was a process of, okay, who who's done this, what's what's what are the ingredients, what makes the
Mm-hmm.
soup, okay,
Mm-hmm.
where do I find the potatoes, which may be this guy that's really heavy into tantalum capacitors, where
Mm-hmm.
can I find wet tant capacitors, okay, now where do I find the roux or the base of the soup, where, okay, so I'm looking for a particular transformer that gives me a certain sound that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want high nickel content? Do I want high iron? But it was all to do with the process to
Mm-hmm.
get to what I was looking for in the sound or tone of a preamp.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about the process. Like when I was doing the C12 or the U87, I had a guy that built my capsules. He's a really great capsule builder out of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I found a guy up in somewhere in Canada that was building the PCBs, and then again, it was about the process. So I would go and do background of how do I get this C12 to sound like I want it to,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got into the API stuff. So building the 312, and then I became really good friends with a guy in Cinemag, um, who actually developed the first transformers that went into the first console API. And I'm like, man, I'm looking for this particular sound. He says, well, that API, they don't use the same transformers that we built back in there. I'm like, oh, really? He said, yeah. He said, I built this, CO4 672. Like, okay, yeah, that's what he's like. He said, tell you what, do you want one? I'm like, no, I want 8 of them because I'm going to build those things. And so, I made those content connections, but then it was about the process. Where do I get
Mm-hmm.
the ingredients to make this drum mic lasagna? How do I put the layers in there? What mics do I use? What pre's? what compressors, and I fell in love with the 1176A revision, the blue stripe. Really like. You probably, you guys can probably see there's a pattern. I love distortion. I do. I love it. So the A revisions, they have a little, a little more of that distortion thing going on there, and I just absolutely love it. So I built a couple of the 1176s going down that particular road. And again, it is musical ADD, and now I'm looking at. I just bought a Weizenborn guitar, which is like a slide guitar. It plays kind of like a dobro, but it doesn't have a resonator in it. So I'm saturating myself with Weizenborn music right now. So
saturating is the word of the day, right?
Yeah, saturation.
So just to kind of repeat back what I heard from you is like, always be curious about how things work and how they can make the process of creating music more fun, right? If you're and follow those curiosities, right?
Absolutely. And look, if you're not having fun at it and you hate it, then you need to separate from it for a little bit and find out where the spot is that made you fall in love with music to start out with, or engineering to start out with, because you're here because there was a passion there and you enjoyed it initially. So if you get to the point where you don't enjoy it and you're not like, you know what, I'm not digging this, find out what you fell in love with and fall in love with it again, Yeah.
That's good. That's good stuff, man.
Thank you.
So going into the next tip, the final tip.
I'm done. I don't have anything else to share.
The police are knocking on my coach door.
Yeah. Hurry, get out of the
Can I take your order?
Yeah, absolutely. You want fries with that?
Drive around, pull the first window. No, so taking everything about, what we just talked about being curious and learning all the stuff that you are interested in, follow that stuff, because you can make it kind of connect back with music. So the third tip that we talked about was to be a solution for somebody. Here's one thing I've seen you do a lot is that you hardly ever say no when you see somebody that needs some help musically. If they need an overdub, if they need somebody to mix, if they need somebody to sing something, if they need somebody to finish a song, if they need a microphone for their studio, you were kind of one of those guys that you're always sure, I can do that. And that's one thing I've learned about you is you're always somebody's solution. Like all they need to do is come to you, and that's a good tip for people who own studios now. It's hard to be just the Chris Lord-Alge or the Tom Lord-Alge who people just bring stuff to mix. It's kind of hard to be that guy. And what we have to do, especially in the beginning, and even I'm not in the beginning anymore, you kind of have to be a solution for somebody. So if somebody says, hey, I'm having trouble getting the song finished, then I put on my songwriter hat. And I've seen you be the same way. Do you have any, what kind of tips do you have for people who may be having trouble getting some work into their studio, things that they can do to kind of be a solution for somebody?
Don't be afraid of trying things. It's like, okay, maybe I'm not a great reggae guy, and I don't know anything about this guy that's bringing this reggae song, but I'll try it. I'll try anything, and if I butcher it, there's always a re-record, or there's you can reset and go back, but always push yourself from a creative standpoint. I know all you guys out there that are listening, you have a gift inside of you, and you didn't get to be as good as you are right now without trying some things. So constantly try and push yourself, push out the boundaries of what you can do. I started out, I can juggle a little bit, but I started out throwing one ball up and down. And then I went to two balls. Well, those two balls, I dropped it a lot. I mean, I messed up a lot dropping those balls. And as well in music, I've made some stuff that I don't want anybody to hear. But I tried it, and the next round I could try that same reggae thing again, and I'm a little better at it, and then a little better at it the next time. And don't be afraid to try something that you don't feel like you're good at, because if you keep doing it, you'll get good at it.
Right.
And I know it's hard. Sometimes you can stretch yourself too thin, and maybe you're not the great at whatever. But to make a lot like demos and that kind of thing, when you're stretching yourself, your demos are going to get better. Your mixes are going to get better. Everything will get better as you're pushing yourself. Never stop pushing yourself, and don't become complacent in where you are. Let
Mm-hmm.
it be a continual learning process that will elevate your level of creativity. And then people, when they hear your mix, I'm like, whoa, that sounds better than Chris Lord-El's his snare tone. Which, by the way, he's got some awesome snare tones.
Right.
Um, but because you pushed yourself and you've listened to Jimmy over here and you've seen how he's EQing a snare, or you're like, man, I don't know if I can really do this. I'm not good at this. But push yourself, challenge yourself, and grow as a creative
Mm-hmm.
person, as an artist, and as an engineer.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things. I think you said something that kind of threw up a flag in my mind. Is that when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, all I did was tried everything I could with a bass. I
Yeah.
was listening to
Were you
records.
all about that bass?
I was all about that bass, no treble,
No,
but
not at all. I stayed away from the knob on the right. It was all about the bass.
yeah. No, but I mean, there's
Oh,
something
that was a guitar amp reference too. Some of these guys are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I stayed away from the knob at the top too. Okay, how about that?
Okay. Now, when there's something about when you're young and you're not afraid of failure.
Yeah,
But as you progress in your life and you get older and you have more success, you have more to lose, it feels like, and you take less chances. And I think a
yeah,
lot of people, our age, they've got that thing in the back of their mind where they've always wanted to do the certain thing, but now they don't do it. A lot of guys are wanting to get into studios and build their own studio and finally do that thing that they never did when they were younger. And there's something about getting older that makes you not want to put it out there and possibly fail at something. But success is built on lots of little failures, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You think about Colonel Sanders. He didn't become successful until way late in his years, and he failed at so many things. He was a door-to-door salesman selling tires for Michelin for a while. And he,
Hmm.
one door slammed after the other. And you can think you can go through time, and you can see so many people, so many examples of people that have failed one time after the other, and then finally they hit the sweet spot and became successful. Yeah, we aren't. A lot of times we have been programmed to be evasive to failure, and
Hmm.
we will guard ourselves, or maybe not try anything, maybe not jump off the cliff
Hmm.
to try to build something. But then there's those times, those aha moments, or those moments like, man, I wish I'd done this 10 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
those letting you guys know out there. There are going to be failures. There's going to be times you're going to mess up big. I remember building my first C12 microphone. I fired that thing up, man. There was smoke coming all over the place. I'm like, oh crap! I'm shutting everything down. But I found out what it was, you know. And then once it was all done, and you're starting to record vocals through this stuff, I'm like, man, I wish I would have built one of these 10 years ago. Don't
Hmm.
be afraid to do something that you're going to regret that you would have done 10 years
Yeah.
back. Do it now.
Yeah.
Don't,
Yeah.
I understand fear, and I understand where fear takes you, and I understand that fear can put you in a place of guarding yourself and like, you know what, I don't want to try this because I don't want people to laugh. But there's a I think there's a poem. It says, if at first you don't succeed,
Hmm.
you know that one.
Try
If
again.
Well, no, well, yeah, that I think that's the original version. If at first you don't succeed, try again. But my version is, if at first you don't succeed, hide all evidence that you ever tried and then do it over again.
That's good. So
Yeah.
how many times has being brave led you to playing an instrument that you really had no business playing on a record?
Oh man, so many times. There may be like this producer's hearing something. I need something. I need. Let's go down this. Let's go down this minor road here. I want something sad, and and I'm like, I'm not a sad kind of guy, but I'll give it a try. So I'll go watch Old Yeller, the last part of it, and I get real sad, and I go back in and I'll do the
Yeah.
part. Hit the red button.
My wife will not watch Old Yeller or Benji to this day.
No,
She's going to cry.
It's like,
but one of the things
hit record.
One of the things that I have done before, and I'm really proud of it, now that I listen back to it, is I've done records before where I played everything on it, and I know you've done the same thing. But for people, so first, my first thing would be if you've got the instrument and you have the ability to do it, you've got a studio, learn to put those parts on there, even if you have to piece it together, which I have done definitely before. But what about just to kind of, I'm looking at all these tips to tie them back together, Randy. If there's a guy that's got a studio, and there's a guy that's written a song for his mom, and he wants to get it recorded, if they ask you to do it, I'm talking to not you, Randy, but the people who may be listening, do it. Even if you need to get some help, I'm sure Randy would be glad to help. Just look him on. How can you know what? The link for Randy will be underneath this. I don't think I got a link from you, Randy, but okay. I will. It'll be underneath this thing. So if you need somebody to put a track together for you, or sing the demo on something, or just add a part or finish it up for you, Randy's one of those guys that can do it. So send it to Randy. The link will be below. But be a solution for somebody. I mean, so just to kind of sum up everything. I'm sure that the people who are looking are not, pushing a fader, EQing, compressing is not the only thing that you can do. Find a combination of all those gifts, of all those things that you know how to do, and be helpful for somebody, because that's the best way to eventually, make money doing this thing. It's just to be a solution for somebody, be helpful, right?
Absolutely. And and obviously the more things that you can do, the more monetary value you add, and more opportunities that you get for, okay, I need a bass player, or I need a drummer, or I need a keyboard player, I need all this, or I need a one-man band kind of thing. If you can do all that, that's great. If you can't, or maybe you have a bass sitting in the corner of your studio and you can plunk around on it. Hey, last week I spent like 9 hours on one tune because I'm trying to learn a certain guitar part, and I one after the other, delete, do it again, delete, do it again, delete, do it again, and I'm just trying to learn the part. I mean, I took the time to do it. Again, that was a challenge, challenge myself, but challenge yourself. And if you can't, with especially with Fiverr now, you have these people that can help you and assist you in your creative process.
Right.
You have to weed through a lot of not good stuff to get to the people that could really help you. But try some things yourself, but I think maybe the idea of the day is push yourself. You can do it yourself, and but maybe there's something that you don't really want to learn to play bagpipes. Well, you can find somebody on Fiverr. You can network, and let's be honest, Cabo, networking is probably one of the most important things that you can do in music. I mean, I know a bucket load of people. If somebody wants to put a band together, I'm always getting calls. Hey, I need a band put together. Can you put a band together for me? And I should offer that as a service, because I've probably equipped, I don't know, 5 or 6 different artists over the past 2 years. But it's about networking. So Billy down here, he plays bass, and then Johnny over here, he's a great guitar player, and Johnny knows this keyboard player out of this world. And so then you begin to network with all these people, and so when it comes time for you to do an album, well, you can call Johnny, and he's going to bring his keyboard player in here, and you guys can hammer out these tracks. Or but but don't be afraid to push yourself.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, I put your Facebook link in the comments section below.
Okay.
I'll put it also in the description so people can just message you, and I'll leave another way for them to get in touch with you too. But
Did you put in the Randy Miller rabbit varmint removal service? Is that the one that you used?
are you doing that too now?
Well, yeah, ADD kicked in. I just
Yeah.
figured I would help other people. It's all
Hey,
about helping people.
Adam Borden said hello. He said, "Hey, doggy." Oh,
Hey,
wait a minute, I
Adam,
put the
how
wrong
you
one.
doing, buddy? I love you, man. I hope you're doing super.
Yeah, and then one of my heroes, if everybody knows, is Kevin McManus just popped on.
Hey, Kevin.
Kevin got to record Terry McMillan back in his heyday, right? Along with a lot of other stuff that was really influential for me.
Hey, was that like 12 Oak Studio, or what was the name of the studio? Was
Oak Valley.
Oak Valley. I
Yeah.
remember going to Nashville, and probably in late 80s, early 90s, and we did a tour of a couple studios, and we went to Oak Valley, and Kevin was there. He probably would never remember me ever being there. I was just a little.
How could anybody forget you, Randy?
Well, yeah, that definitely could. People want to forget me. I'm telling you that much.
Yeah.
You can ask my wife that. She's like, I don't. But I remember going up with a little group that I was playing with out of Auburn, Alabama, and we went up just to see Nashville. I mean, a couple of us had never been to Nashville, and but Oak Valley was one of the studios that we traveled and that we went to see.
I was just telling somebody upstairs they were talking about their SM7B. Kevin used to have 4 SM5Bs, and I'm still trying to get my hands on one of those, Kevin. You remember those SM5Bs that were about that big around?
Oh,
look like an oversized Tylenol pill.
Absolutely, yeah. Those are awesome.
They sound great.
I've got the US built SM7, the original one. And it's a great mic, especially if you got a loud singer.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see a lot of those SM7Bs popping up. People are singing on albums with them now. So.
Oh yeah, they're all the rage these days.
Yeah.
Nathan McFarland says hello.
Hello, Nathan. I hope you're doing all right.
If he just popped on, who's this English guy on here? Anyway. Nathan said, I do work on Fiverr, but most of the time people don't want to pay what I charge. I'm not mixing a whole song for $5. I agree with you. That's why I was trying to, in the very beginning, I was trying to figure out how mixers could actually be able to use this thing. But you know what? Here's one thing you could do if you wanted to, because I think the win would be to get into their workflow. So what you may could do is offer to master their song for a low price. And maybe the $5 is just for an MP3. And then I know what I've done before is like I've been mastering things where it's like, I know I could have mixed this better if they had put me into the formula one step before. I could have fixed all this stuff I'm trying to fix now. And I told them that I offered to mix it for free, and I did, and they liked what I did. So I've been working for them ever since. So that could be a good Fiverr technique.
And also, with the $5 thing, it's a marketing deal. When you start looking at the fine print, it's not $5 for a 3.5 minute song. You can do it $5 for 10 seconds of audio. And by the time, because when they look at it, it says, "I'll mix your song for $5 or whatever," and you're like, "Oh, that's $5 for a mix." Then they click on it. It's essentially clickbait. They click on it, and then your page comes up, and you start looking at fine print. Okay, it's $5 for this. I've looked at demo. I needed a demo sung for a songwriter 2 weeks ago, and so I'm like, oh, there's a demo singer right there. He's like $10, but it was $10 for 10 seconds of audio. But by then I've already clicked on him, and I've listened to his material. I'm like, oh, this guy's pretty good. You scroll down. $10. Yeah, you scroll down and like, man, that guy sounded good, but it's not really $10. By the time the career is going to be this. But he was a great vocalist, and I hired him anyway. Yeah. So, it's clickbait.
If you think about it, a lot of times you would pay somebody $5 to be in your, people do it all the time. They'll pay money to get people to subscribe to their channel or whatever.
Yep.
This is just kind of the opposite way of doing it. They're giving you $5 to hear what you're capable of doing. And it's kind of like dropping a business card, so.
Yeah, it's the cost of acquisition there. I mean, and that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
If you acquire someone that does repeat business,
Mm-hmm.
that's well worth the investment that you've made for that first time deal.
That's cool. Well, I think we'll kind of leave it right there, Randy. And man, it's been good catching up with you again.
Oh man, great! Always great to talk to you, Kebo, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Thanks, guys, for logging on. I had a great time with you. If you need anything, you can contact me through Kevin, or there'll be a link information down at the bottom. Whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily have to be music. If you guys want to go deep sea fishing or something, I like doing that too. But just for whatever. Thanks, guys, for watching and being on here. I hope it was informative and a little bit entertaining as well. But Kebo, I love you, buddy. If you need me for anything, just give me a buzz.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon, Randy.
All right, bye. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was Randy. Yeah, he's a blast. Hey, thanks for the comments. Thanks for logging on here. Hopefully some of that was helpful. Again, if you need some mix tips, I have a free workshop that you can go to, and it is mixcoach.com/workshop. It's 5 of my best mixing tips. I think you'll learn a ton from it. Learn how to get to a good mix faster than you thought you could. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. All right.